Another update video on the 1986 International S1900. It's probably been about a bit under 3 weeks since I did the last update video. And at this point the truck is pretty much finished. That might be a bit of a dangerous word. It's usable, let's say that, put it that way. So I finished painting the whole outside of the cab. I removed, there's a pipe that used to come out from that brass plug. It used to come to the side here and there'd be a dryer. It's not necessary. It's most of the newer trucks don't have it. It's a bit of a luxury, or it's not really necessary, and it wasn't working, so I've blocked that off. I had to take out the wires going from the starter to the solenoid, the relay, because there was a bad contact. So I just finished, and the lug nut on it was pretty bad. It was very thin for some reason. So I replaced the lug nut. The wire itself is not great. There's a lot of green stuff all the way through the wire, but it should still be okay, though I'd like to change it in the future. I soldered the joints, I soldered the lugs. So that's what they look like. I always like to add a rubber hose or pipe for reinforcement. Problem is, the eyes on those lugs are too small to go directly onto the starter bolt, and that was probably the original problem. I think somebody must have enlarged that somehow so that it would all go onto the nut, which is a 1/2 inch 13 nut or bolt on the starter. So it's actually, the hole's actually that size. So what I'm going to have to do is, I can use that smaller sized lug hole there. I'm gonna have to drill a hole here, a big hole here, to fit onto the 1/2 inch starter motor bolt, and a smaller hole up here for the lugs. This is a solid piece of brass, so that should work out nicely. Moving on, I also had to mend this pipe here. It was broken right at the edge, probably just from the movement against the barb. So I just cut the bad piece off, moved it further, clamped it, and it's good to go. I put some engine degreaser, try to wash off this bunch of grease here. Some other point. Very important, guys, to keep an eye on the power steering. It seems that there was a bit of a leak here, and you don't want to run out of power steering fluid on a truck this size. That would be really bad. I took that winter cover off because it was all rotted out. I mean, I still have it. It's not too, it's all hardened up. Somebody put some zip ties on this because the grill here was vibrating. It still vibrates quite a bit, as do the lights. So I finished all the body work pretty much on this side. I need another coat of paint, but we're in a hurry, so I might do that later. Put the fender back in. I even put the mud flap. I drilled more holes and put another piece of steel angle in the back because the original one was completely rotted out. So I also drilled more holes to distribute the force on the bolts, give it better clamping. It goes onto there. I just welded a few 1/2 inch 13 bolts to this plate here, angle. That's just from Home Depot. I had to clean up the threads. And if you recall, over here there's just a big hole. This here was completely gone. And there's the floor. I mixed a bit too much body filler, so I just put the leftover on there. This gray color, I didn't do it on purpose exactly. It's just what we had. It's an old can of paint, so best to use it before it hardens. Seat. I still haven't bolted this down. Maybe I never will. And finally, the last one that I did, the exhaust. And the exhaust took me 3 days to make. So I had to cut a piece of angle, drill a hole through it. I got this these rubber mounts here. It used to be just a long piece, and I cut it. It's a solid exhaust now. I also welded these well, you can't see it now. See the bottom one here. 1-inch flat bar reinforcement all around. You can see the edge of it here. Again, lots of drilling holes. Used a T-bar or just a T. Sorry, I used an angle here, and then I welded this piece of plate on top just to support it. Makes it easier to install the stack because it's very heavy. Well, here's the reinforcement here. It's a 1-inch flat bar. I'd like to weld it fully, but I just welded a few sections here. But it goes all around and it reinforces it. Looks like water mains on the building. This exhaust does. Goes up there. That was probably the hardest part to make. Clamps onto the turbo. Got a new clamp on. Air filters in. I had to make part of the dashboard too. So there's the gauges there. I emptied out this other tank. For some reason it's leaking here at the gauge. I might have to change this fitting for some reason. To make and curve this new part of the dash here. I machined out those brass I'm not sure what you call it, but the engine shut off originally used to go here. But because of the doghouse here, it no longer fit. I think the hole where it used to go through the cab, it got blocked out by the reinforcement channel that I put going across. So I moved it here. It's all like a Ford car, I guess, all left hand now. New air brake lines, rated for 3,500 psi. Bolted the seats down. There's absolutely no leaks, like except for that gauge, which I will fix. The other one is just fine. It was there It was on yesterday, and the pressure still hasn't dropped at all. So, actually, you know what? I think it was over 100. So it dropped maybe 20 psi there. In about 24 hours, so that's not bad at all. So Bodywork here again. Yeah, I see this here, but it's just a truck. I need to get it going. But I'm pretty happy with the results. It's just a big hole here. This here is I completely replaced it. Now the problem is I'd like to put the other fender here, but there's no holes for it, and I already put the body filler on it. So if I were to, I'm gonna leave that for later, and I don't want to tackle it right now. But we'll see what I'll do. I might just weld an angle here, and then drill holes on it, and weld a plate on that fender, so that I don't have to drill any holes through. And then I'd also have to weld something. I'd have to weld one of those coupling nuts, a few of those coupling nuts. And welding means destroying all the bodywork here. So you might just leave it like that for now. Not the nicest, but I still have to adjust the hood. And this is the problem with fiberglass, guys. Like it hits, it breaks, cracks here. On the other side, the hinge part is just broken off, as you can see there by that gap. And apparently there might be a few international school buses, same hood, same problem, and some company came out with an aftermarket reinforcement that you can drill through and add and replace those hinges there. Ideally, I just like to replace this hood with a steel hood, but some other time. Reconnect some of these wires. It's an air ride seat, by the way. You adjust the height of the seat with this button here, and it's air controlled, so it should be very, very comfortable. It is very comfortable, actually. I tried it once. I'm pretty much done with the air shift unit for the axle. So the original one used to be an electric, which is I just like to switch it to air, but I still have to finish covering it up. But there it is. And get the pipe for it, hook it up to the cab. And finally, what I've been doing last, I spent pretty much a whole day straightening this rear door. So as you can see now, it's actually pretty flat, pretty straight. But before, it was that much off in the middle, like it was curved. It's like a banana. It's horrible. So I had to, I don't know why that happened, or if it's just the way they made it. It looks like somebody made these here, like it was welded on after. But at least the pipes themselves are very, very thick. It's very heavy. So over here you can actually see that the bracket here, this part, it was actually made, welded at an angle, not straight. But anyways, I spent a few hours unbending it, making it straight. I just used Thor's sledgehammer. Where is it? There it is. Look at the size of that thing. You have an idea. This is a Thor. I always confuse it. I think it's Tor. Tor's a sledgehammer there. And just kept beating it where it had to be beat. You can see a few dents, like a few, until it got straightened out. And then after, like the thing is, it wouldn't even close. Like, because the gap in the middle, as you can see here, the gap is very, very close to even all the way through. Now before it wasn't like that. To the point where the gate, it would stop right here. So after I straightened it out, it no longer fit into the hinge. So again, I got Tor's sledgehammer, beat the hinge, beat this part until it would fit. And then once I got it up, it would no longer align with the holes here. So that tells me that whoever made this, they left it bent and just welded that in as is. So I had to enlarge that hole there. As you can see, I used the plasma cutter for the bulk of the job. And then I used the Dremel or grinder there to clean it up a bit. Same on this side here. And now it finally closes nicely. So what I'm doing now is I'm closing up these holes in the back. For some reason, there was, as you can see, it was completely open in the back. Not too sure why. They were just lazy. So it was just like here pretty much. Just open. Even these holes, I'd like to close them off someday. But for now, at least we've got the bottom closed here. I had to, before I enlarged the hole here, I tried to hit this part with Tor's sledgehammer so that it moved into the alignment with that hole. But instead it actually twisted this here a little bit, and it caused, maybe just from the vibration, it caused this plate or sheet here to come out. And the reason was that it was not welded. So as you can see up here, it's welded in sections, which generally speaking is not bad. Still nothing beats full continuous welds like here. But over here, I think they had no welds, or the welds were bad and they just broke off. So the whole thing came out, so I had to clamp it down and weld it. And I just went ahead and welded the whole thing continuously. I'm pretty proud of my welds here. Look at that. Over here, I'll need some cleaning up. Again, there's just a bunch of paint and crap in the back. So a lot of these videos I see on YouTube, people teaching you how to weld, they all come around with, all demonstrate, do the demonstration with nice, clean, brand new pieces of sheet steel, and they make it look so easy and nice. And the problem with that is that it's just completely unrealistic. If you're working on cars, you'll never see a clean piece of sheet steel. Never. So you're always going to get some blobs or some high spots, which can be easily grinded off later. That's what the old exhaust looked like. That's where the turbo was connected to. That's the top part, these stupid clamps. Thin, crappy stuff. And this is the part that went into the air intake manifold. And because I had to raise the cab, this would no longer fit. But I was happy to get rid of it anyways, so we just replaced it with a longer straight piece of steel pipe. And that's aluminum corrosion there, or rust. It's not, I guess, technically called rust, but it is rust. It's corrosion. So I've heard a lot of people say, oh, aluminum does not rust. Yes, it does. Actually see that. See how much of that crap comes off of it. So that's pretty much the update for the day. Should have this finished by the end of the day, and those starter wires reconnected.